compromise like every day, right? You get up at a certain time to go to work, and all of a sudden your significant other has to be up at the same time, and now you're both, no one said anything because you're thinking you're just doing your usual routine, and then you're getting screamed at because you're in the bathroom doing your usual thing, and I have a meeting. What are you doing? What are you talking about? Welcome back to another edition of Truth Tonic for Women. I'm Dr. Traci, and I'm here today with Amanda.
Hello.
How you doing, Mandy?
Super duper.
What you been up to?
You know, it's been a rough week. It's been a rough week.
We're in Atlanta, and it rained, I want to say, every other day for like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And then we got, this past week was Sunday through Thursday.
Yeah, it was decent.
Yes, sunny. And then the last 2 days, rain, storms. Not raining, just blow through storms.
Tis the season, but these little pop-up storms, but sometimes they can be absolutely terrible.
Yeah.
So,
and you know, it's Atlanta, so you have that humidity that goes along with everything else.
yeah,
But it's summer.
it is
It's
summer.
officially
It's here.
summer.
It's happening. I embrace it. I'm prepared.
It is great to be in a different season. Yes. I mean, temperature-wise, as well as what it says on the calendar.
But are we ready for the constant days of night?
No,
Yeah,
I'm not.
exactly.
It's a good thing we have air conditioning.
Thank God. Thank God.
As always, guys, we're going to try to make it make sense today. And today we're going to be talking about the things that you should think about if you're thinking about getting married. You guys, there's a whole slew of things that you don't even think about. You're just all happy and excited that you love your man or your woman, and you're going to march down the aisle, and then reality hits.
That's right.
I think there's two types of reality too, like the planning of it and then the married part of it.
Yeah. And being around somebody all the time.
But first, we're going to do a little icebreaker.
That's right. I won't cheat. I didn't want to see the bottom.
Don't.
I'll pull from over here since I'm at the middle.
Okay.
These are deep.
Oh, no. You want to go first or?
You go first.
Oh,
Okay.
This one isn't bad.
Okay.
What is your biggest hope for your future?
I want to be comfortable, and yes, that involves money and everything like that. But I want to get to a place where we're fulfilled, you know, with like career, just life in general. And I'm at that age too, where there's just like a lot of change going on, and I'm totally confident that will happen in some way, somehow. You know,
Right.
We'll get there.
Right.
You know, so that's currently what's on my mind.
Nice.
All right.
I like it.
Yeah. What's a memory you keep holding on to and why?
Wow.
I told you.
Wow. Let me think.
Think of a positive one, because this could go.
I'm gonna think of a positive one.
Okay.
A memory that I keep. You know, I can't say that there's one memory that I hold on to, but I do have a cascade of memories. My mom passed away when I was 21. So, of course, I have all these memories of her, and it's never the same one, but I do feel like I definitely have memories of her every single day, and I hold on to them. Like I don't know at this point if it's subconsciously that I'm always thinking about her. And I don't mean like to the point where I'm like, should I cross the street? Mom, what do you think? Not like that.
Right.
But, you know, I can see a flower or a bird or a situation or a word or a phrase or, she was very family oriented. So, and she loved her friends, and I'm kind of the same way. So we could just be sitting around having like one of our stupid like little Sunday fun days, and I'm like, memory.
Yeah.
And yeah, and they're never gonna.
That will never. Yeah. That will never go away. And I think that that's awesome, and that is a good memory. You know, it comes from something very sad, but that's great. You know.
Yeah. I think. Yeah. That's it for me.
Yeah. That was a. That's why I was like, wow.
Yeah.
We're doing this.
Well, you know, being honest and all.
Yeah.
Okay,
speaking
guys.
Of that.
Yeah. Speaking of being honest, have a little champs here because
we're going to need it.
Oh my goodness. Okay, so I'm gonna go off like pulling a card, but I'm gonna make up the card in my mind. If someone had asked you, what was the one thing you wish someone had told you about getting married, what would you say that you wish that you had had that particular advice?
That's a crazy question. Of course, you get the dumb stuff that's like, don't go to bed angry. Which, all right, fine. Listen, you're gonna go to bed angry.
Yeah.
Just deal with it.
Yeah.
I think having to, kind of when you marry that person, you do kind of marry into their family, and
Yeah, you do.
that can be a challenge.
Yeah.
And that also goes on the other side too. It's like when, if you have a sibling or somebody you're close to or a family member and they bring somebody in,
Yeah.
it can be a challenge sometimes. So there's lots of things to that, but I think currently that's something important.
Yeah, that is true.
What about you? I know you're like, I don't even know.
There's so many.
There's so many.
I do. I mean, now that you said that, that is true, because I think that we hang out with our significant others for quite a bit before, well, let me take that back. Not always. Some people meet someone and marry them a week later, so I'm not going to say that.
Yeah, that's a whole other
And to
thing.
each their own.
Right.
But you spend quite a bit of quality time with this person. And, of course, you're going to go for some family dinners or what have you. But to deal with the people, especially if you live in the same city, same state,
15 minutes away from each other.
right, on a daily basis, that's a lot. That can be a lot. Like, you really have to, because most of the time people come from completely different family dynamics, right? Mm-hmm. It's like, in my family, you don't show up without calling. Like a phone call, like you can drive by and see 60 cars in the driveway. You still don't get out of your car unless you call so we know what's going on. And then if you're with someone who their family can drop by just like, hey, I was in the neighborhood. What?
Yeah.
Do people do this?
I know. I think that is insane too. It's a healthy boundary. Now it's different if somebody's driving through your neighborhood and, I thought I'd call to see if you're home. Doesn't sound like you are. Catch you on the flip side or whatever. Not a problem. But yeah, the just showing up or making you feel obligated that you need to, because listen,
you don't always feel like talking
you
to other
don't,
people.
or maybe you're I don't know, maybe you're recording a podcast and you don't need somebody popping in.
Yeah, exactly.
Or working from home, stuff like that's happened and you're like, what the hell?
Family dynamics though is such a huge,
it's a huge thing. And
a huge thing. And I think that one of those things that you shouldn't take lightly. I think that when you're in that honeymoon stage and you think that everything's hunky-dory and you're like, well, I don't care about their family. I'm marrying, the man. Yeah. That shit creeps into your daily life. It does.
Because I guarantee he probably still cares about his family. It's going to be a thing.
You are, okay, so just say you don't like the holidays and your significant other loves the holiday. That's a huge compromise that someone's going to have to figure out.
Exactly. And you will. And that's a big thing. The compromise. You're going to have to figure that out. And big time. And there's going to be a lot of that.
Huge. And I feel like living with someone 24/7, it's a lot.
It is.
Is anyone like me that gets a little excited when their husband's like, I got to go out of town for business? What? Oh, how many days?
Yeah. Mine's out of town a lot. And so I have the opposite and you have it too, but I feel like Steven's around more than Brian is, but it's an adjustment on the other side of having to be by yourself, Monday through Thursday, Monday through Friday, have an immaculately clean house. We like that shit. And then having to deal with somebody else come in, even though you are married and, our relationship wasn't always like that. But, just that's work. It is what it is. Income, it's important.
Yeah.
So, yeah, having to deal with the opposite of that, of having to change your brain, your mindset to be like, oh, you're here. It's not a bad thing, guys. It's just
not bad, but it's an
adjustment.
I mean, and depending on your space too, right? getting ready for an event or going out and you're both having to use the bathroom and one takes long than the other and it's not me. It's
I know.
what
That's
are you doing
surprising
in there?
to me. I don't. Yeah, I mean, if you're fortunate to have a space, and I know not everybody is, but if you can have like separate bathrooms,
It would be
a solid
really
choice.
beneficial. To your
Straight up,
marriage.
like, a spare bedroom is a she shed.
Yes.
Like, do not go. Yeah,
Don't come in here.
that is my
Knock
space.
on the door.
Yeah.
I might let you in. I may
Whatever
not.
you can do to preserve your sanity.
Crazy.
And there's plenty of people that like totally are fine with being on top of each other,
Yeah.
literally like all the time, and that's fine. But I'm like,
Right.
you just wait like 7 years down the road. And see.
And also, like, I guess it's also personality wise. Like, I don't feel I would be happy in my marriage if I didn't go out with my friends separately from Steven. Like, I love having Steven around, but I'm going out with my friends.
But I think
you go out with your friends.
that's a healthy boundary.
Yeah.
Because big time, because I know plenty of people, and I'm sure you do. Well, we probably know
we
some
do.
of the same people.
Yeah.
That they will not go anywhere without their spouse. And I'm like,
No. If it's a thirsty Thursday, I'm like, hey, can you be our Stuber? That's his name with Uber. And he's like, what?
Yes.
So I'm not invited. I'm driving. Yes, sir.
sorry,
Like,
thanks.
we need some girl time.
And to be honest with you, like, I mean, we hang out. Steven's great.
Yeah.
But I guarantee he'd probably would rather just not
be with us.
I mean,
anyway.
yeah. So it works out. We always give him 5 stars. It works. It's perfect.
Give him a little tip.
Yeah,
at the end of the night.
exactly. That's you. You do that. I don't.
I don't even do all that most nights. But I think that he loves the fact that he knows that I have my girl time, so he gets his guy time.
100%. That is so healthy that you don't need to be so ingrained.
Right.
And
Of
your
course you want to
spouse
be
like that.
respectful about it. Like, hey,
Yeah, of course.
It's Sunday, it's football. Can I go hang out with Darren for 6 hours? Because it's different if you go, I'm going to go see Darren, and then 6 hours later, the whole day's gone and there's no dinner.
That may have happened. Or somebody has a little too much and then you're like, oh, now I have to deal with this. You know?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's important to be respectful of that. But I think that that's just a good, healthy boundary to have your own relationship or to nurture those relationships that you had prior to meeting your spouse.
Right.
That are healthy, of course, like I still have a lot of my girlfriends a lot. There's 3 of them that I've known since like 5th grade. And I was just with them Friday night. And it's just, we'll go sometimes months without talking. We keep in touch, but it's those people that you meet that it's almost like you don't miss a beat with them. Mm-hmm. And those are important people to have around. And, you got to have that.
And you can't force friendships. That's force like your friends that you had before you got married to like your man.
No, you can't.
Or girl.
Yeah, exactly. Right? I mean, it would be ideal.
It is ideal, but it has to happen organically, right?
Yes, I think so too. And I think that, but that feedback to some degree is super important in kind of making your decision if you're going to spend the rest of your life. Or, we all know marriage isn't a perfect thing. It takes a lot of work. And I think a lot of people get divorced because they don't want to do the work. Yeah. I think a lot of reasons why a lot of people don't do anything is because it takes work. And that just goes with any relationship. It's going to take work. Like if I didn't talk to those girlfriends or didn't see them, like we probably wouldn't be, it all takes work. Yeah. And people don't want to do that. So with that said, though, like, the feedback that you get from those people, too, about these people and are you sure, Yeah. We definitely had situations where one in particular where this chick married this guy and we were all like, are you sure?
Now, if everybody's saying, are you sure?
I know, right? Pay attention.
Red flag.
Pay attention. And I won't go into the details but it was a really nasty, awful marriage and a nasty, awful divorce for her. And she's fine now. But like on her wedding day, we were like, are you sure? It's bad, but like you can't stop people. You can certainly choose not to participate. And I think that did happen, but you can't. People have to learn on their own.
I had a friend in New York like that also. Like I loved him separately, but some of the things that you would hear that they were going through, you were just like, are you sure you want to do this? And at one point I said to her, I said, are you sure you want to get married? And she said, the invitations have already gone out. Like, all this money, we've already, blah, blah, blah. And on the day that I got there for rehearsal dinner, he pulled out a prenup that she had to sign before they got married. This is like everyone's families come from out of town, the whole 9 yards.
That's gross.
Needless to say, she was like not happy. And they didn't have a nice honeymoon. And they, of course, ended up getting a divorce. But
probably like, sooner than later, I would imagine. Jeez.
Isn't that just so crazy? But that is a pressure. Is crazy. Can you imagine that your father or your mother or whatever paying for your wedding, giving you money for your wedding, and you can't get any of the deposits back, and the invitations have already gone out, you've already bought your dress? Like, that's huge pressure.
It is huge pressure.
I get why people like go through with it, but I always say, like, it's so much cheaper to just stay with your deposits instead of paying for a divorce. Divorce is
very expensive.
Very expensive.
And also, I mean, the wedding planning stress is the stress that you can get from planning a wedding and the amounts of money that you're shelling out. And it just depends on what you want to do.
Right.
But that whole process is stressful because I can't think, and myself included, I can't think of any wedding planning that didn't come with some sort of hiccup and you needed to plan B or you had to pivot.
C, D, what? I had no caterer until like a week.
That was a dick move. It's a dick move.
For the wedding.
Yeah.
It was so
And then
crazy.
our friend Jenny ran into the same issue with some stuff too. And it's just like, my entire venue sold.
That's right. I forgot.
Like, fuck me, right?
You don't have a venue.
Yeah. Like, it was a huge problem. So it's stuff like that. And that is incredibly stressful. And you really have to think and you have to plan. If you're fortunate enough and you can hire a planner to take care of all this stuff for you, then go for it. But that's also a big thing that people just, this wedded bliss, you get engaged.
Yeah.
But planning this stuff, even if you have a wedding planner and you have some semblance of control and you got to pay these people too, it's going to be stressful. Things are going to come up and it's going to be very stressful. And that can, if it's not handled appropriately.
Especially if you have a family that helps build stress instead of relieve it.
Right. They're not really any help.
Yeah. They make everything so much worse.
Yeah.
Or they, this is another thing that I learned in the process of getting married. Choose what you're going to choose before you ask anyone their opinion. Because you're going to think that it's quite lovely.
Oh, yeah.
And then someone's going to
run their mouth about it.
And you're just 100%. Like, oh my God. And if you haven't made that decision, you're going to teeter-totter. You're going to be like, should I? And then when it's over, you're going to be like, why didn't I listen to myself?
Right, exactly. Or even if you already do make the decision and somebody gets a hold of it and has their own opinion about it, then, crazy. And it gets back to you. Like, I don't know, maybe there was an email sent that you were on and you weren't supposed to be on it and they're talking shit about you and your ideas. Like, that may or may not have happened.
I remember.
Yeah, exactly.
And be really sure about the people that you have in your wedding, right? It's one thing to be like, oh, they're my this, they're my that.
That obligation that
you have to have people up there standing next to you that's going to help you make it better, that's going to help you make it fun, because it's stressful.
It's supposed to be fun, guys.
I mean, stressful. You want someone that's gonna lighten the load, someone you don't really have to ask to do something. They just know that it needs to be done and it just gets done.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, don't listen. Just because she's this, that, and the other doesn't mean they need to be in the wedding.
I can't think of, I'm sure that there are some instances where it works out fine, but I do know a lot of times when people feel obligated to have, the future sister-in-law or maybe a brother-in-law or somebody in the family, you have to have 20 in your wedding party, which is absurd. I've seen it happen and it's like, how many, is this like a clown car? What is this? Like,
it's a clown car.
Yeah, like what is going on? You really need to be very confident about that. And very to your point too, that people that are willing to elevate, make it fun, and also step up, because part of that, if you're going to do that, sometimes it takes a literally takes a village to
Yeah.
get this stuff done.
It does.
Sometimes. It really
Because
does.
there's so many last minute things too.
Or things that you're going to have to pivot on that like something can't be done a certain way.
Do you wish that someone had told you anything about your like first Thanksgiving and first Christmas together?
So, what's interesting about that, and I think it just depends on where you are in your relationship. Like you said, that we know people, I think we all know people that have met somebody and it's been 90 days and they're already married.
Right.
And maybe not pregnant or knocked up,
Yeah.
whatever they could be. And they haven't had those holidays together. So
Yeah.
luckily we had done that. We had the Thanksgivings, we'd had all that stuff before we were even married, And I will say it is tough to navigate when you have a mother-in-law that just is such a planner and just adamant and takes a minute that like, listen, we're going to have to split these holidays up. And, when you have a holiday that's, for example, Thanksgiving, everybody usually has that Friday or has some time. But the point is, it's a Thursday. You have an entire weekend that you can also catch up with somebody.
Yeah.
Getting some people to understand that is very difficult, that I can't be in 15 places on one day and I choose not to,
And what we also forget, I think, the holidays are very depressing for many people.
They lose their
it's
family members.
Yeah.
And, like, it can be. And
it's really,
tough.
I mean, I know I lost my mom during Christmas holiday, and Christmas used to be my favorite holiday because my birthday is the 23rd. So I like to say I'm a little angel, but she always made it really special for me. Like no Christmas presents on my birthday. I always had a birthday party. So holidays were really hard. My birthday and holidays were really hard in the beginning.
Like your birthday. Woo.
And then sometimes in the beginning, especially, and then I moved to New York for 18 years. And there were some Christmases that I was by myself, like didn't really want to work. I mean, as a nurse, midwife, you can work the holidays. That's not a problem. But I knew my mental wouldn't be in a place,
This wouldn't help. It's not going to help you.
Anybody delivering a baby for me to be like
halfway checked out and like crying.
Right. But I have to say it was the people that I met along the way, my boyfriends at the time, that brought me into their family that made me not despise the holidays.
Yeah.
Even when I was alone, like I knew I had memories of what it's like when you're with family and when you're with friends or what have you.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just wanted to touch base on the fact that the holidays can be a very lonely time of year for people.
Even if you have a significant other or if you have, friends around, if there's sometimes you just need a minute.
Yeah.
And, I certainly, I will say this, the holidays, I certainly like around Christmas, I know this is going to sound crazy. I've gotten better about it, but I for some reason get appalled at the way some people behave in my family around these holidays and what they turn them into.
Yeah.
And the amount
it's not about the season.
Yeah. And I'm like, well, fuck off. Like, you're making this miserable and this like the time of year, after that Thanksgiving thing. And I'm just like, I hate this.
Yeah.
And you're such a Scrooge. And I'm like, no, all these people are they're fun sponges. They're sucking it all, and you really have to figure out how to like get over that. And that's tough, but there's just a lot during that time of season too that I'm like not super thrilled about.
So yeah, I would think that like the best advice about holidays is to have a frank conversation about what you do. Like my mom, one of the reasons why I
boundaries with it.
Right.
Big time.
I loved Christmas because she always stuffed my stocking with all of these crazy things that I would never think about, but that I loved every single one of them.
Yeah.
So I do the same thing. My husband, I was like, I got like some fruit or some other kind of candy. I'm like, what? Wait, what is this?
They just weren't stocking.
You have a stocking full of things, and you gave me food. I think I saw that in the kitchen.
Counter. Yeah. That's actually pretty funny. That you're like, really?
I'm like, this is not how we're doing this.
That's funny, but that's an interesting point. to what's the tradition that he had. We always had stockings that were also full of stuff. And it'll be like stuff like
lipstick,
razor blades. You're like, well, I know I'm good for the year. Thank you so much. Or like
socks, undies, little like
always some kind of candy,
which you don't want to pay for yourself. I mean, buy for yourself.
Yeah, exactly. I'm totally cool with all that. Great. You have a year's supply of this shit. You don't have to worry about it. But if it wasn't a tradition, you got to think about it. You're going to go into holidays, and that means all of them.
Yeah. Disappointed.
Some of them are going to be disappointing or weird. Or sometimes you're like, wow, we were pieces of shit. Like, we never did any. I didn't have this. I didn't have this pomp and circ. And you may really like it. And like, you know, it just depends.
And what about Thanksgiving dinner? It's like this huge meal. What if you don't eat any of it?
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, I hate turkey.
I have had some damn good turkeys, but it is never like, so we got into like either ordering, like having somebody like deep fry the turkey, which is the tits. I'm sorry, but a deep fried turkey,
I like a smoked turkey,
is good. And if it's done right, but it definitely isn't the star of the show in my personal opinion. No. I like the sides. Yeah. I like the apps that you eat before and the rolls and all that stuff.
And the dessert.
Yes, exactly. But that can vary. It just depends.
Dressing or stuffing.
So fun fact, I was more of a stuffing person, and I get fancy with mine too. I'll do like leeking like mushroom. I know, believe it or not, this bitch can cook when she wants to. But my grandmother's like chicken stuffing. You know, for some reason, it always weirded me out because I like the texture of it. But it is really good. Yeah. And so now I have a little bit of both. You know.
Too. Like I grew up in the South, so of course dressing was my thing, and then going to the North, like stuffing is everywhere. 100%, so I pretty much
good.
I like them both actually.
Now I'm hungry.
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway. The other thing, what about, did anyone talk to you about finances when you were about to get married? Like, do you even think about finances before I'm sure there's some really responsible people out there.
Yes, we weren't one of them. I think our financial situation,
I think that age too it
has changed tremendously, ups and downs and round and round. And I know a lot of people are going through financial stuff right now just because of the way the world is. Yeah. It's like $8.50 for a thing of mayonnaise, and like all of our salaries have been shit, and it's something that everybody's seeing. You know, even people who made good money are like, I don't make good money anymore. You know, so that's a subjective comment, but it's tough. You know, and I think we're all kind of feeling that, especially
feeling the pinch.
Yeah, where you're like, damn, I gotta quit doing this. You know.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think that we knew what we could afford, you know. I mean, like, I come to the table bringing this, you come to the table bringing that, and you either merge it or you don't, or whatever, or open that if you don't want to mix your finances. And I get that too, because I'm like, I don't want you bitching about me because I went to Amazon and bought a bunch of shit. Exactly. And like, by the way, all of our cleaning shit comes from there too, or whatever it might be. Right. I think that if you bring income to the table and your bills are paid, then you do what. Right. I mean, that's how I feel. Or open that checking account, that's the joint one, either a savings or have an account where this is the bill account. So put your half of the mortgage in, or your rent, or whatever it is.
And that's how we did it. That I love. So Steven and I have bill account. So everything all of our bills are linked to that. We have a spending account, which I did have to explain to him what the spending account was. He went out with his friends or something, and I was looking at the statement, and I was like, you just spent $300 when? Oh, well, me and blah, blah, blah went out. No. That's not a spending account for you and others. That's a spending account for when we go on date night, or we need to buy a birthday present or a Christmas present, or need something for the house. Right. And then you have an account which you go out with the boys with, and I have an account that I do what I want.
We do our Thirsty Thursday.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Or whatever.
That worked out really well for us, but we came from both having incomes and living our own lives. So it was kind of like, you can't tell me what to do. Right. Like, well, you can't dictate how I spend my money. I can't dictate how you spend yours. Of course, we know that now our money is pooled.
That Invisalign.
Pooled. Anyway,
It's combined.
it's combined. So you're aware of those things, but certainly it makes it so much easier because, you know, your bills are like the first thing taken care of. And it kind of, I feel like, takes a lot of the
stress out of it.
stress out of it, because
money
it
is
goes
so
automatically in there. So there's
Yeah.
none of the like, hey, I paid the cable bill. Like, you didn't pay the phone bill. I got a late notice or what? Because, you know, some people aren't good with like paying bills on time.
Yeah,
You
I know.
know,
It's tough.
automation, people, automation.
Automation. Go figure.
And no ladies.
Yeah, and you certainly don't want to feel like out of balance. So like and that's something that has come up in my household too, because, you know, he travels, and then we'll be like, well, you know, I paid for whatever, and I'm like, well, but this and this cost this. I gotta tell you, most of the time when you sit down and have a conversation about it, it comes out as a wash. So it's, again, and we've talked about this before, communication is super important.
Right.
And you have to communicate on all aspects. Like, honestly, if you do that and figure out how to talk to this person, and you should know that before you marry them,
Right.
if you can help it,
Right.
how this works, you know, that's a huge step. And, you know, that might change throughout your relationship. But
And I feel like you can't be afraid to tell your significant other something that you don't think that they're going to like or want to hear. Right.
Well,
Like,
I mean, I think that's just kind of like a healthy relationship in general.
yeah,
though.
but I really think,
Codependency?
yeah, like you don't have to like everything that your significant other likes
No.
or watch what they watch.
Yeah.
It's-
Don't mold
Yeah,
yourself.
don't become your significant other.
Yeah.
Be yourself.
Like,
I mean, if you want to morph into him because you want to, that's one thing. But I mean, certainly I think, which was good advice, you need your own identity outside of the marriage,
really do.
outside of him.
Yeah.
And
or
he
her,
does
whatever it
too.
is. Yeah. Everybody needs that. Everybody needs that. And I personally find that, so my husband's 48. He's 7 years older than I am. And I will say, I mean, he definitely has friends, but that particular subset of like that age range, I feel like they have like the hardest time like making friends. And it's like they have friends, but it is an act of God to get them to contact them sometimes.
Yeah.
And sometimes like I think everybody has probably wrestled with some time of like codependent, like, because you obviously don't want people you care about to feel some kind of way. Like it's not a fun thing, but you do have to be like, well, I've got my own thing.
Yeah.
You could if you wanted to. You're choosing not to. That doesn't affect me.
Right.
You know, and that's kind of like getting out of that whole rut of, am I being empathic, or is this going to a whole other level where it's like a codependency thing where you're rearranging your life just to make sure somebody doesn't get upset.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Is okay.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, you can't really do that all the time. It's not
just-
healthy.
You got to be comfortable in your own skin, I feel like, before you can get married.
I think you do too. You got to have your shit together.
You-
Or as much, you know, we're
As
all
much as
learning
possible.
as much as possible. We're all learning. I mean, and some people do get married very young, whether it's pregnancy or they just choose to, you know, some people have those, what is the tag, the trad wife or the traditional values. And so they want to get married very young and have children.
Yeah, and they don't work, and then the kids leave, and then what?
I know. Listen, that would not be something I would be very good at, but some people love it, and it's making a resurgence now, I think, because of like a rebellion against, you know, other values of like, you know, that women can go out and get a job and
take care of themselves.
take care of themselves and not, I'm not getting like political or anything like that. I'm just saying, but this is just a natural flow of what happens. But then you have those wives that did have, to your point, exactly, the spouse dies.
Yeah. What do you do?
And
You never took
they
care
can't
of,
take care of anything.
You never took
My
care
grandmother was this exact example.
Yeah, you never took care of the finances, and now all of a sudden you got to figure out. And you guys will probably do a show on it when someone passes away, and you're the trustee or the person over it, it is
something else.
It is crazy.
Yeah.
But on top of that, trying to figure out how to run your household that you never ran.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's important for you to know what's going on financially in your marriage.
Exactly.
Because you just never know what's going to
like,
happen. Tomorrow's like never promised.
Right, exactly. And that's even if you're, say you are, and there's nothing wrong with being a stay-at-home parent. There's nothing wrong with it. I mean,
I wish I were.
I know. Sometimes you're like,
let's be honest.
I actually I kind of want to do a little bit of this sometimes. Not all the time, but sometimes I'm like, I want to raise some chickens and I don't know, like
play in the garden.
Yeah, I seriously and that's just not how our lives are. But and there's nothing wrong with that. But I just, this whole head in the sand thing.
Yeah.
Is crazy to me. I don't get it, but I don't know. Again, you really need to know those values. And I will say I had a friend of mine who was party hardy all the time, and we were younger, just partying, having a good time. I would have never thought in a million years she would have taken on a role of being this traditional wife person, married, and I knew that her family was religious, they were Catholic, whatever.
I know so many people that like that.
Yeah, but I would have never thought that her life would look the way that it does now.
Yeah.
And some of the stuff that she said, I was like, who is this person? Yeah. And so I don't know what was fake. Not that was fake. It's just
her phase.
What phase of life she was in. And I just was like, really? This is what you're...
Completely different.
Yeah. And sometimes people, and that can totally be her evolving.
Yeah.
And that's what she wanted. I just hope that is what she wants. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Some of this stuff will just blow your mind, really, and maybe it shocked her too. I'm totally fine with this. Yeah. I didn't think I ever would be, but this works for me. For you to be a breadwinner and have this crazy job and never be around, but I've got these 4 kids and I'm totally fine with doing the thing. And that's going to be hard work, raising 4 kids essentially by yourself. My brain melts at that.
Essentially by yourself, because if your husband's at work for 8 to 10 hours a day,
or out of town all the time,
then you're pretty much by yourself. Mm-hmm. I was gonna say, I think that not enough people talk about the kid situation either before they get married.
Yeah.
Do you want them? Do you not? Is it a maybe? Can we think about it? Do you want 1? Do you want 3? Do you want 4?
Yeah. I know. You just want to pop them out left and right.
What do you, that's it. I don't really, you could say, hey, I want to get married and have a family. But what does that mean? I
know. Are we getting turtles? Are we getting dogs? What's going on?
Are we going to be the dog family?
Yeah, exactly. I think that people can change their mind on this all the time too. I was never one to be like, yay, babies. Not saying that it didn't occur or come up or there wasn't some trying involved in that, but I am childless by choice at this point, and I'm totally fine with that decision. But I'm also in my 40s, so it's I could change my mind. Yeah. I probably won't. But these are important things, and especially women in general, there are people who can have babies. But
I don't. We all know those people that are tell the other one what they want to hear. And then later they're like, well, I just thought you'd change your mind. Oh, I don't want to have kids. And then they get married and she really doesn't want to have kids. And they're like, what are you talking about?
Well, what's the and I need to ask. What? I know. I need to ask my friend about this because she knows these people personally. But the Sofia Vergara and that Joe, the hot guy. Yeah. I think the reason they ended up getting divorced is because he wants, he's 45.
He wanted kids.
He wanted kids. And she's like, I don't.
Everybody knew she didn't.
Yeah. And it's so he probably told her this isn't a big deal, and then it was, and then it was, and so that's the thing. Men can do that too, and be like, I really want. Yeah. She's like, absolutely not, and they could have had, and she's in her 50s. She was older than him, and not saying she couldn't have a child, but she's perfectly in her right to be like, I'm in my 50s. She has a kid. So it's that's crazy.
But you definitely need to have the.
Put it this way, with big shit topics like this, okay. Yeah. Don't just, if you have your conviction on I either want this or I don't.
Just because you say I do, the thought or the decision is going to reverse.
Put it this way, just be like, I don't know. Like, I mean, that's a perfect safe,
And-
maybe not.
But if they don't know, you got to accept that it might be a no.
Correct.
So you got to accept what the words
Yeah,
mean.
exactly.
I don't know does not mean in 3 years. It might mean no.
Yeah, it might.
I thought about it.
In fact, it
no.
might actually mean more than
I went
that.
over
But
to your sister's house and she has 3 kids and my answer is no.
yeah, I'm terrified now and I don't want to do this. Also, with that said, like, we know a lot of people, I think it's a combination of people aren't patient enough for anything these days, like anything at all. But I think it takes time, especially like as a young woman, if you were on birth control or it can take time to have a kid. So like, what are your limitations and how much are you going to spend if you're going to do the IVF or the IUI or any of that kind of stuff? Like, that's a huge thing. Or are you just absolutely not? I will not do that.
That is also another huge thing that I don't think people were not even thinking about before.
Oh.
If you were married and you want to have a family and it just so happens you can't do that on your own, IVF is upward of $50,000. Yeah. Like, you have to sit down and have that so we have $50,000 in the bank. Do we spend it on having a kid and then have no savings?
Yeah.
To have the child? Like, that can be...
It can be, but I also can't imagine being in that situation where you want something like that so much and you can't get it. And, the people that they're like, essentially medically, there's no rhyme or reason why this isn't happening for you.
Yeah.
And, like, I can't imagine being in that position. So to me, it sounds insane to do that. But I know people that are in that situation.
People do it all the time.
It's hard to speak from that, but I do think it's an important conversation. Like, 'cause I definitely know people who have spent... sometimes they have insurance that may cover it. Sometimes they don't. Yeah. When I say cover, not really.
Not all of it.
You're still out of pocket.
But I've had people who get a divorce after they do all of that.
I know. Or
get pregnant.
Yeah.
Get pregnant. But the stress of getting to that point just broke them.
Yeah. I know. It's tough. But I mean, I think a lot of it just has to be... Everybody's kind of got to be on the same page. You got to figure out how to get there. And if you can't, it's just not going to work. Bottom line. And I don't mean the entire marriage, but maybe like this particular thing that you're talking about. But I mean, having kids and finances are up there.
Yeah. Also, if you are going into a marriage and you have children and now your significant other is the step parent or what have you, like, those are conversations that are going absolutely nowhere if you don't have them. I'm on the team where you sit down with your children and say, this is my significant other. There will be respect here. Yeah. I'm not saying that you need to be calling anybody mommy, daddy, but we were all raised to respect our elders. And whether that's your, new step parent coming on scene or not, but I feel like it's the responsibility of the person coming in with the children to have the sit down with the children, and then for the other party to come in after that, maybe a softer land. And be like, I'm not here to take anybody away or to I'm here to enhance your life, if anything.
Right.
Be a friend, not trying to take anybody's
position as being a top parent. So, I agree with that. I have a friend who, actually, we were doing a girls' night. This was years ago. We were all, litty titty at some bar. And she's talking to this guy, and she leaves with this guy. And my husband comes to pick me up at like 2 a.m. And again, this was a long time ago. I would perish if I was out to 2 a.m. But I'm like, I will kill you if you do anything to her. Like, it's kind of like this funny thing that we always discuss. Okay. She was with this guy, like all day next day. And I'm like, where are you alive? Because this is really concerning to me. Sends me a selfie of her and this guy, and he was very cute. Mm-hmm. He still is. Great guy. He really is. And like, see, we've been together all day. I'm alive. Like, proof. I'm like, hey, they are still together.
Nice.
They have not gotten married, but he has 2 children. And
when did she find out? Oh, and please tell someone when you have kids.
I know. Well, the fact
Don't
that
let it to be a surprise.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, don't hide stuff like that.
6 months later, you're all in.
Not cool. Not cool.
I had a boyfriend that did that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, wait, what? You have a who?
Yeah, it's crazy. And so she knew about it, but she loves being a stepmom to these kids.
Nice.
But she's like, I also know, like, they have a mother, they have their father, you know. I mean, but
Kind
she's
of the best of both worlds.
yeah,
You're a
because she's
mom, but
like,
not
y'all
really.
handle that, handle that crazy stuff. I don't need to have. You know, if you ask for my opinion or help, I'm here to do that. But she's handled it beautifully and it's worked out great. But I also think it's that expectation, like she never wanted to really have her own kids.
Right.
She's like, this is fine for me.
I mean,
and he didn't want any more. And so it's actually a really cool situation.
It's a really good situation.
Yeah, it worked out really great for them.
Yeah.
I dated,
Please have that conversation.
I dated a guy that had 2 kids.
Did you know about it?
Yeah, I did. And his ex, I want to just say it, they weren't married. I mean, they were definitely had a relationship. But she was a little jealous, and
Cray.
she never did anything in my car, but there was one time where she was out, like, he had a Jeep and she was out there cutting like the isinglass on the thing. And I'm like, this is, you know, the kids are one thing, but the vandalism of the car, because that didn't last very long. But I gotta tell you, like, when he would have those kids and I'd be there, and it was kind of weird because we dated for a decent amount of time, but like it was weird, like, oh well, we have the kids, like, we have the kids, what? I had to do what? No. Like, one of them screaming all night, and like, I'm like,
so I'm breaking up.
Yeah, it didn't work out. It just, you know, for multiple reasons,
your cup of tea.
It just wasn't. And he was like 21 and he had, you know.
Yeah. He was,
Yeah. And I was like, I think he was a year older than I was. So like, I was like,
that's a lot at 21.
Yeah, I don't want
God bless him.
Yeah. And they're great. They're, I mean, he's not with this person. They've moved on. The kids have like graduated high school. Like, it's crazy how life, you know, so everybody seems to be doing well, but it just was not my cup of tea at the time.
Also have to have conversations about travel. What if you love to travel?
Yeah, I know. I'm
and then
kind
you
of
marry someone that's like,
has done all the traveling and doesn't want to do anymore.
Never been anywhere, and they're like, no, I'm good. What?
I have heard some people say some crazy stuff. Like, to me, I think it's nuts that people are like, why do you need to go do that? Why do you need to go to Europe? And I'm like, why not? And like, good for them, but like, don't give me shit for it.
Because I feel like I think that you could date someone for a pretty good amount of time and go like on weekend trips, or maybe even have a destination wedding. And then, you know, 6 months later, you're like, you know, what is going to be our summer vacation? And they're like, what are you talking about? You mean you're going to stay at home and have a barbecue in the backyard? And you're like, but no, we're going to go to Ireland, or we're going to go to Hawaii, or we're going to go. And he's like, no.
Yeah.
Or that's too expensive, or, you know.
And it might be, and that's like a whole other conversation about
I guess
that.
That's priorities, right?
Yeah.
So like, what are you going to spend your money on? A vacation or this, that, and the third? Because I'm all about the travel experience. Yeah,
the travel experience. But there are things that do come up that, like, say you had to do some crazy home repair or something like that. Be like, we really can't do that, you know?
But yeah, it's important to know if your significant other likes to travel or likes an adventure.
Yeah.
Or even to travel within the United States.
Yeah, exactly.
But to shake it up a little.
Yeah, exactly. Because my husband was in the Navy, and he has done and lived pretty much everywhere. And a lot of the places I want to go here. He's like, I've already been there. Like, I'm not going back. Like, and I get it. But here's the thing. Like, he's fine with me with reason.
Yeah.
He's like, you do what you need to do. Yeah. And, you know, sometimes obviously I there's a few things that he's like, well, I might go, that would be cool to do. But like, you know, he's fine with me. Like, you need to go experience that. That's fine. Yeah. Like, I trust you. You're good. Like, let's not go into extreme debt to do these things, you know, or whatever. So it's all ties back to all these other things that we've talked about, like your finances.
But would you miss Apple? Stephen and I like travel really well together.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of people don't. But I think I would be kind of sad if I couldn't travel with him.
Yeah.
Once in a while.
Yeah. And absolutely. Like, I will say this. I will get him to I can always get him to Florida. I know that sounds crazy, but he has no issues. He's like, sounds good to me. But, there's some great places, and we have great hookups down there and great friends that are really nice about sharing some of their stuff. And so it's great. Stuff like that. And one thing that we have talked about that we really do want to do is, I don't know how much time we'll have, but like going out to, because I've never done it, going out to like Wyoming or Utah, like Arches or like Jackson Hole. And he's done some of that stuff, but he's like, I've never done it like in an RV or a van. I think that'd be cool. I think that'd be cool too. Like, so we're on the same page.
Sceneries. And,
have you ever done that?
I've been to Colorado, so we were able to like go to the big park out there. And I've been somewhere else that was a bit Arcadia in New York. Whenever I'm with Jeffrey, I'm going to some kind of something.
Yeah.
So, and it's cool. We traveled by car from LA up to Big Bear over to San Francisco. I mean, I was just like, the land out here is so crazy. Now
California is a huge state.
I understand those westerns. Like, you can totally see like cattle and like wagons pulling people. Like, it's so big and vast that you're like,
it is.
Oh my God, this is like, there were no roads. Like, they really did have to like travel this way. It's crazy.
Yeah.
It was really different from like living in Atlanta.
Yeah, I know.
Or like living in New York.
Yeah. I mean, and this state has all the things too. You can go, you've got mountains, you got the beach, you got the coast, you've got a whole lot of nothing and like trees and forests everywhere. Like, there's some cool stuff to do, but we're at least on the same page about that particular trip. Yeah. But to get him to go overseas again, or even go back out to Hawaii where his brother lives, not happening.
I don't like travel.
No, I mean, it's stressful.
And I love it. I love it. I cannot wait to get to the airport.
Same.
Get into like,
I get really excited. I get really geared up. Yeah, I know. Get into Sky Lounge. Yeah, I like it too.
Get a little champs to start the vacay.
That's right. Hey, that Sky Lounge has saved my ass when you get delayed because of weather.
Yes.
And you're there all damn day to go somewhere. And I'm like, I'm back again.
Otherwise, it would cost you a fortune.
It really would. It's like, it is beneficial to some degree. But so, exactly. I mean, like, I think it goes back to hobbies and interests too. Like, you can kind of figure that out before, but the people who want to morph into their spouse or their significant other or somebody that, I want this person to like me. And it sounds like such a high school thing to say, but I know grown-ass women who do stuff like this. Yeah. And I'm like, I don't even know who you are anymore. And it's not even that. They may have a huge passion for this, like, whatever random thing that they wanted to do. I get that.
You can't make it your everything.
But you can't, I
mean, marriage is really difficult because
it is.
We said earlier that it's about compromise, but it's compromise like every day, right? You get up at a certain time to go to work and all of a sudden your significant other has to be up at the same time and now you're both, no one said anything because you're thinking you're just doing your usual routine and then you're getting screamed at because you're in the bathroom doing your usual thing and I have a meeting. What are you doing? What are you talking about?
Yeah.
Dinner. Who's cooking? Like, and I cook so completely differently than Steven. Steven loves to be in there and will cook an amazing Italian. Well, Steven can really cook anything.
Yeah.
But I'm more like fish, vegetables, like trying to keep it healthy. But I also like eating like that. Like New York had no fast food whatsoever. Yeah. I mean, they did, but
there were some McDonald's you could totally walk by.
I'm gonna retract what I said. They have the fast food places, but as a child, I remember going to a drive-thru and eating in the car, so your food was warm. And in New York, if you're gonna walk to McDonald's and then walk back to your place, your food is cold.
It is not gonna be warm.
So it's like I never had fast food, and I don't know. It's just I got into healthy, I guess.
Yeah.
And I do like the meals that Steven cooks sometimes. Well, I shouldn't say that. I like his meals 99% of the time, but I do know in my head, like, it's not helping my cholesterol. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, this is good and all, but
Yeah.
not going to be good later.
But I think it's really great, though. I think you both are great. You like to cook. I don't mind cooking, and I definitely make meals for myself. We definitely have our different styles of cooking. I mean, that man wants like meals ready to go, but he's not like somebody who's necessarily like fast food or wants something frozen. But I meal prep stuff. Like, you know, I'm like, invested in a good vacuum sealer. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, we have one of those. We don't even
use it. I'm telling you, it's
we
great.
should.
Yeah.
But we
keep the food waste to a minimum or whatever. So like if you eat something for a couple of days and it's like, it is time. There's only so much of anything I can eat by myself when I'm by myself.
And Steven hates leftovers.
Yeah,
So we're just
I get it. I get to the point where I'm like, if I eat this soup one more damn day, I'm gonna lose it. But yeah, that's true. Or most of it's like a role. Like, are you expected? Am I expecting you to do this?
Like, are you? I mean, I want you both have a job. And
that's tough.
Are you? Is just one person coming home to cook every night? Are you cooking and then having to clean the kitchen? See, here's the thing with me. If I'm cooking, I'm gonna clean the kitchen. Because when Steven cleans, I have to say, I'm not coming anywhere near this kitchen. Because I feel as though it's not just him, but most men in general use every single pan, pot, utensil in the whole entire kitchen to make one meal. And I'm like, it's going to take me 2 hours to clean the kitchen when you could have just washed it, put it in the dishwasher.
Right, clean as you go.
Washed it. Put it in the dishwasher, but now you wait until after I've eaten this meal and you're like, are you going to help me clean the kitchen? No, sir. I cannot.
Yeah.
That has been an issue before.
I learned a lesson a long time ago with a roommate of mine so I had 2 roommates, but we had like this cool townhome where everybody had their own bathroom, bedroom, everything. And he was a great cook, but he was the messy. Literally, his nickname was the mess. So it was kind of tough. Like, I'm like, you can do whatever you want to your nasty bathroom in your room, but like the communal spaces, you're going to have to try to keep clean.
Yeah.
And he was also really good at cooking. And so when he was around, we all had jobs. So it's kind of like either everybody has to fend for themselves, or sometimes it was like a Friday night and we're poor anyway. So it's like, this was a long time ago. Hell, now I feel like everybody's poor. So like try to do more stuff at home, but he would make food, and same thing. The messiest person. And so the task of cleaning the kitchen at that point, you're like, this almost isn't even worth it. Yeah. And it's not fair. Really I'm like, how is it on the ceiling? Like, how did we get to this point? Like, what did you do? But I also think the roles are important. I know when I was growing up, I was spent a lot of time with my grandparents, but my grandmother raised children. She's a very smart, hardworking woman, but never had really a traditional job. She raised kids. So, but she was home all day. So you cook and you clean it. And I get that. But that was what she did. That's what she took care of. But, my mom, when, she got remarried to my stepdad, not the recent one, but this other one, that she divorced when, man, this is a whole thing. I'm going to have to sit. She's going to kick my ass if she listens to this. But I know when she would get home, or we'd get home from school, or in between practices or whatever, we played a ton of sports. I did, my brother did as well. But she always came home and cooked. And I can't even imagine. But you have to, you got to feed yourself, you got to feed your kids.
We all did it when we were single. We came home from work and we cooked.
Sure,
I feel
100%.
like it was just so much easier because you're cooking for one.
Oh, you can make whatever.
2, so you can it's easier. Like making a meal. But also, it's like, if both of you are working, someone has to clean too. Yeah. You know what? It's like, I swear you have to have these conversations, because I have broken down on more than one occasion when I looked at Steven and I'm like, I get that you work, but I work also. Like, why am I in charge of laundry and cleaning the house and all these things?
Yeah, well, I don't.
Until I went out of town and he was like,
oh, I get it.
Oh, I get that, things just start to pile up and.
Yeah, and you're going to be like, oh, I don't like this here. Yeah. Well, the point is, too, I don't let my husband touch my laundry, because everything I buy or bought would be shrunken because it would be dried when it wasn't supposed to, in pink. Like, I'm like, just don't leave it.
I do the laundry.
Yeah, I'm like,
and I'm okay with it.
Yeah. Yeah, because you have control of your own shit. Yeah. The point is with all this, even though it sounds trivial about who's cleaning, who's cooking, it can build resentment. And
especially if you don't know how to talk about it.
Yeah, and that will kill any relationship.
Yeah, it really does.
You literally,
because
you can't breathe around somebody.
Side eye, and then you're at a party one day and you just flip.
Yeah, or you're just like, I'm done. Like, you just check out and you're done.
And everyone has like these different communication styles, right? So I just married my husband, but I dated him in my 20s, right? So we bicker like we did when we were 20. Like, that's what we do. Like, on any given day, I can just be like, fuck off. And he's like, fuck you. And we're like this. And then we're like, so where are we going to dinner?
Correct. And that's fine for y'all. And it'll disturb some people because people are like, oh my God,
what's happening with them?
But it's just what you do. And it's fine. And it's fine. And y'all are fine.
But I have to say, at least the thing that needed to be said gets said.
Yeah,
because if you don't say it, then that bicker is going to be an
actual fight or an argument.
And like a bickering and fighting are complete, not that we haven't done both, but
different things.
Yeah, different things. Like, Steven called me today and I was doing something and he wanted me to do something else, which I felt like he should have taken care of. And I was like, stop asking me to do shit. Blah, blah, blah. So I got done doing what I was doing and I figured out, I do have time to do this thing he asked me. So I called him back and I was like, hey, what are you doing? Actually, he hung up on me, which he never does.
Oh, shit.
I know. So I called him and I'm like, hey, what are you doing? And he goes, nothing. What do you want for lunch? And I was like, excuse me? He goes, well, I want you to eat before you go and start the podcast, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, yeah, I guess you're right. And then I was like, well, I just called to say I was sorry. And he goes, what? And I was like, I was calling to say I was sorry. And I was like, and if you say what one more time, he goes, I'm sorry. Excuse me. Who am I speaking to? I'm like, goodbye. You try to be nice.
Yeah, I know. Sometimes it's hard. It is. It's all.
I feel like they think that we can do a million things, and sometimes it's overwhelming.
Well, because we can, but it doesn't mean that it's optimal.
Yeah.
Functional or ideal to do.
Right.
And that's just how our brains work. And I know that's not everybody, but it is true. Like, there's evidence on people don't really multitask. You can do a little bit of focus attention. Yeah. And there's some people who are usually women. They're way better at that than other people are. Yeah. It does not mean that you're doing the best job at 20 different things. That's literally impossible to do.
Yeah. What is that? Jack of all trades,
master of none. Yeah. Like, you can't do that, and you can't do it all the time. Yeah. So but I think that we often do that. Sometimes it's with ease, and then they get used to it. And I mean, that's what happened in any kind of relationship where, oh, you got that. And it's like, do I over here spinning 12 plates? Like, but it's bound to break at some point. Like, you can't do that. So, it's all partnership. Takes work.
I think that everyone should go to marriage counseling personally.
We've never done that. There's been some individual things like that. And I think that there's like some like literally like denominations.
Yeah, they like go to your like pastor.
Yeah, you have to. But I think it's more of like they like try to, some of the stuff that we brought up today, like, are you having kids? Are you doing this? Or are you guys?
Finances are always huge. Yeah, because everyone, I feel like people are afraid to tell the truth about their finances, right? Mm-hmm. Like, you got that $80,000 student loan that you haven't talked about because, you've been out of school for 20 years.
Yeah. And like, defer.
And then you get married and he sees the amount and you're like, or her, and you're like, oh, we didn't talk about that.
And like, I think that, it would be great if you could have somebody who would help, step up to the plate and help you pay for some of that stuff. Mm-hmm. But it's really not. And this is my take. It's like, that's your student loan. Right. Like, but just like, you need to tell somebody, you just know that I have to pay this. I mean, that's not your obligation or whatever debt you may have. Yeah. For whatever reason. I mean, shit happens to people.
Yeah.
And it sucks. Like,
you have to be up, like, extremely honest about your debt. Like, they're gonna find out.
Yeah,
like, they are going to find out.
Yeah.
And some people are just crazy about, like, I don't like having debt at all. Yeah. But I know that it's something that people have, but and we think about finances completely different. So Steven is do it and I'm going to figure out a way to pay for it. And I'm like,
yeah,
oh my God, should I do it? Should I not do it? I don't know, because like, should I take money out of my savings? Should I, like, I'm always
thinking about it.
I like security in the bank.
Yeah.
I like to see it. I like to see it grow.
I agree.
And he's like, I'll make more.
Yeah. And both things are not wrong.
Yeah.
I mean,
but it's still conversation.
It is still a conversation to be had.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So
I guess what we're saying is marriage is huge.
It is. It's a big deal.
And it is literally a daily compromise. And you need your friends outside of your significant other. You need family. You need hobbies. You need to be able to be your whole self and able in order to be a good partner for whoever you're marrying, I think.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's help, there's therapy, there's girl talk.
There's
this podcast.
That's
where we
right.
try to make it all make sense.
Me too.
So I hope that we pull down the veil of some of the things that you weren't even thinking about if you're thinking about getting married, that, oh, wait, maybe I should have a conversation about that. Or maybe I do want to go to therapy because I do have a student loan that I didn't tell him about.
Yeah, or whatever it is, like any of that. Yeah, like, and of course, all this is all of our opinion, but we're literally living it, and we've done it, been there, done that, doing it. So
friends, doing it, figuring it out. I mean, and you know, it's a puzzle. It's not like it's moving. It's not.
It's a fucked up puzzle.
It's like a.
All the pieces are going together. I hate it.
At some point, sometimes you're gonna be like so in sync with each other, and then the other second you can be like, "Why did I marry you?" I mean, I know I've looked at Steven a couple of times and said, "Are you sure you want to marry me?" before we got married, and now I know I've said a couple of times, "Why did you marry me?" I mean, like, we all have those thoughts in the middle of like whatever crazy thing is going on at that particular moment.
And sometimes, and that's a normal thing too, but it's definitely, I don't know, I think it's something that if it keeps popping up, it might be something to evaluate, but like people freak, they just, you know, some people just freak out over this kind of stuff and just, oh, divorce. And like, okay.
But basically love is seriously love and trust. Basic building blocks. And then communication, because that compromise is like I said, daily.
Anytime the trust is gone for whatever reason that might be, I mean, and this is any relationship, but particularly marriage, it's kind of over at that point. Yeah. So, and whether it's
I would have to say that would be the one thing.
I think so too.
That would make me reconsider
100%
my marriage if I lost the trust.
Yeah.
Like, I trust him more than anybody I know.
Yeah.
And that's a great feeling to have. I can't imagine wondering what he's doing when I'm not around.
Yeah, exactly. I know. It's a big deal.
It is. So do your due diligence, you know, talk to your friends, go to therapy, have the important, hard conversations with your significant other, and
take your time on your engagement.
Enjoy it.
Yeah, you don't have to rush into anything. In general, marriage. A lot of people aren't even getting married anymore.
Yeah,
and that's
you don't have to do that either.
Yeah. Fuck it. Just do that.
Live with each other.
Whatever makes you happy.
Do your thing.
But all that other stuff still applies. Trust, responsibility, blah, 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 and all that. All right.
Okay, guys. Thanks for joining us. Invisalign.
Again.
I hope we made it make sense today on some of the things that you should think about when it comes to marriage. Thank you for watching Truth and Tonic for Women. If you have any questions, leave a comment and let us know. Also, follow us on social media to interact with the community. Like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you in the next video.